Hello there. I wanted to give you a spoiler warning for the Silent Hill 2 remake. I'm going to spoil a lot of stuff, so proceed with caution. Also, there's a lot of sensitive topics here, so again, proceed with caution. But I mean, we are talking about Silent Hill. What did you expect?
Anyone there?
What? What do you mean anyone there? Yes, there's someone there. Stop pretending like you don't hear me. This isn't the time to joke around. This is a very serious game. Wait, don't ignore me. That wasn't very nice. This is exactly why you don't have any friends, James.
No!
I didn't mean to scare you.
So the Silent Hill 2 remake is finally here. And right off the bat, I wanna say that it's great. Not perfect. There are some iffy parts, but for the most part, it's fantastic. Most people did not have faith in a Silent Hill 2 remake. Most people were quick to throw eggs at Bloober Team. Metaphorically speaking, I mean. I hope. And most people are now saying that they were wrong to doubt them. I'll be mostly comparing the story between the original and the remake. I'm going to assume that you played the original Silent Hill 2 and that you know every single little detail about it. Or just that you at least watch me talk about it for like 3 hours because you had nothing better to do, or you just wanted to put it in the background while you went to sleep. Where's Doom Guy?
I'm the remake version of him. I thought it would be fitting since we're talking about a remake this time.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. Your voice is also different, that's cool. Are you as much of a prick as he is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that also makes sense. Anyway, let's get started. It's time to finally talk about the Silent Hill 2 remake. Oh, wrong footage. Look at that facial hair. So you know the premise. A goofy dude by the name of James Sunderland comes to the spooky town of Silent Hill and does the totally normal thing of searching for his dead wife, Mary.
Mary. Could you really be in this town?
She supposedly died from an illness, but somehow he received a letter from her, which instructs him to find her in their special place. In the original, he immediately thinks about some park they visited when they were on vacation here.
Our special place. Does she mean the park on the lake?
He assumes that that's where she's waiting for him and decides to look for her there. This time though, he doesn't immediately remember their time at the park. You need to do a lot of stuff to jog his memory here. Let's get this out of the way for anyone who likes to complain about these things. All of the button prompts and HUD elements can be turned off. That way you can be fully immersed. Minimal tutorials, minimal button prompts, and just a clean screen. The only thing that might pop up is the health icon if you're about to die, which is exactly the same as in the original. I really appreciate that. Also, like a Resident Evil character, he now also holds his belly when he's hurt. If you want, you can turn everything on. Loading screens will give you hints and much more. I chose to turn everything off, and I'm playing on hard mode, because I'm an epic gamer. Just like before, you can choose the puzzle difficulty. I went with normal. The beginning of the game is basically the same as before. We run across a really long and foggy road, until we meet this trauma victim, Angela. She's hanging out at the cemetery, which is another totally normal thing to do. They talk for a bit, she explains that she's searching for her mother, and tells James how to get to Silent Hill. Now you're probably wondering, how's the cutscenes compared to the original version? Well, they're mostly good, even great. But there is something that I don't know if it's bad or if it's just a matter of preference. The characters don't emote like they used to. I'm used to them moving around more. They aren't as expressive here. They're more static. Sometimes they also sound like they're just reading from the script without putting a lot of emotion behind it. The performance can feel kind of stiff. I don't think it happened often, but it happened enough that I wanted to mention it. I don't know if it's just me being nitpicky as a fan of the original, but look at the difference in this cutscene and tell me if I'm crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking for Silent Hill. Is this the right way?
Yeah. It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road. You can't miss it.
Yeah, I'm looking for Silent Hill. Is this the right way?
Yeah. It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road. You can't miss it.
This town, there's something wrong with it. And it's not just the fog either.
This town, there's something wrong with it. And it's not just the fog either.
I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
Okay, I got it. I'll be careful.
I'm not lying.
We say goodbye to the nice lady and move on. The obvious change between the original and the remake is the camera. If you're a super old school player who still plays the original copy of Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1, then you're probably going to hate it. If you're a zoomer who's addicted to TikTok and you're just now old enough to vote, you're probably gonna love it. Personally, I do miss the fixed camera. The specific and cool camera angles made everything feel so cinematic and creepy, like someone is constantly watching you. You can't really do those cool shots with a standard over-the-shoulder camera, but at the same time, I don't hate the new perspective. If anything, I find it interesting how we can now look at things in a different way. You can rotate the camera and see things you couldn't see before.
Oh, that's that good shit!
If you wondered how certain things looked from a different perspective, well, you don't have to wonder anymore. And of course, changing the camera usually changes the combat. We'll get to that soon. James arrives in town when he notices something strange in the fog.
Hey, wait.
In the original, it was weird how James randomly decided to chase after this random figure, but at least there he just ran after it. Here, he's so eager to go after it that he starts crawling on the dirty floor. You know you're going to stink for the rest of the game, don't you? This is your only jacket.
Hello?
Hello there. It eventually leads him to a random house where he finds the radio, and here's the first big change regarding the progression of the game. In the original, you find the radio and the first enemy in some dead end with lots of planks. You can actually see the same location, but you just pass it by. These types of changes in the game structure will become more frequent the more we progress. Here, we find a radio in this house, along with the first enemy, which leads us to the combat.
You picked the wrong house, fool! Hey!
When I talked about the original game, I said the combat is super easy, and it's just there because it's a video game and there needs to be combat. It's like a formality. But here, boy oh boy, it's hard. Especially when you're playing on hard. The combat is vicious. You can also use stealth if you want, if you sneak up behind an enemy. See? Very stealthy. Don't try to fight every enemy, especially on hard mode. They will kick your ass, and you will run out of healing items fast. But if you do want to fight, you gotta get good with the dodges. You hit them once or twice, dodge or run around them, and wait until they start their attack animation. Then you hit them once or twice, and repeat the process until they are dead under your foot. You wait for the moment they attack, you dodge and punish. Silent Hill 2 is a Souls-like now. Like before, you can step on them in order to finish them off, but it's not as gentle as it was in the old games. There, it looked like a gentle tap. Here, it reminds me of Dead Space, but with a lot more emotion behind it. This is exactly how I react whenever a cockroach jump scares me in real life. Eventually you get some guns, and thanks to the new camera perspective, you can choose exactly where you want to shoot. If you shoot them in the leg, they will kneel down, which opens them up to a strong attack that knocks them to the floor, allowing you to finish them off. You can save a lot of time and ammo with this method. Before moving on, we have to mention the map. It works the same as before, with some new additions, and it's phenomenal. I really like how you can see James physically holding it in his hands, and how, whenever you find some kind of clue about a notable location, or a locked door, or something like that, you will see him physically drawing on the map to mark it down. The map might even be more detailed than the original. Also, it opens up immediately. You don't have to wait 2 seconds for it to load every time you want to take a peek, which is good, cause you'll be using it a lot. I somehow used it 900 times. Holy shit. Oh, and looking at the map doesn't stop the game this time. So don't stare at it while an enemy is spitting acid in your face. I don't recommend it. Sometimes listening to weird notes might not be such a bad idea. The red notes are back. Whenever you save the game, you can see James's face, just like in the original. He's just staring at the red save point. But here the angle changes depending on where you save the game. That's a cool detail. After defeating the first enemy, we go deeper into the spooky town. And wow. Say what you want about the voice acting, but the town itself never felt so alive. Which is ironic, considering no one lives here. You can actually explore random buildings and facilities. You don't even need to use the door. Just break the window to get inside. Monsters will notice your location and will also climb through the window to chase you down. It's fucking great. This is the closest we've got to an open-world Silent Hill game since Downpour, but there's one feature that I kept secret up until now. I gotta give Bluebird Team props for allowing us to break car windows, and just windows in general. It's genius. If you're stuck in a creepy place like Silent Hill, and there's tons of abandoned cars all over the place, why wouldn't you break into them and take whatever's inside? You need all the equipment you can get. Plus, breaking windows is just fun. In video games, not in real life. Although, remember how I said that in the original, James needed to go to some park to search for his wife? Here, he doesn't think to do it until you solve a new puzzle. In order to do that, we need to find a few items, like 2 pieces of a record that you stick together with glue. I don't know if it really works like that. A jukebox button that you find in some hole, because James really likes to stick his hand in random holes, and a coin that we steal from a cash register in some random diner. Really? There was only the one coin? This place didn't make any profit, huh? No wonder it's abandoned. After finding all of the relevant items, we can solve the puzzle, and it's pretty well made. I like it. The record starts playing, which gives James a flashback of his vacation with Mary. They added new scenes that don't contradict with the overall story. It's not much, but it's a nice addition.
Park on the lake. I spent the whole day there.
This flashback reminds James of the park, and now we finally have a new destination. But in order to get there, we must go through a familiar location, the Woodside Apartments. We head outside and boom, we get ambushed by 50 spitter monsters. They're called the Lying Figure, but they sure do love standing. The fog becomes thicker, there's harsh wind, and even though I cleared most of the monsters on the streets, more enemies came to replace them. It's like the town is more hostile this time. It finally noticed us, and is sending the monsters to hunt us down. With all of these creatures going after us, we have no other choice but to take shelter inside of the Woodside apartment building. Which was a bad idea. Almost immediately, we find a coin puzzle, which was originally located towards the end of this section. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've noticed, but they remixed the puzzles here. The flashlight is again located on Mary's dress, and like in the original, I know that there's an enemy here that's supposed to jump scare me after I take the flashlight, but the game doesn't allow me to hit it. Okay, fine, I'll take the flashlight and pretend to be scared. Ah, oh no, how could this be?
How could you have done this?
I'm making fun of this enemy, but don't be fooled. The mannequins are by far the most dangerous enemies in the game. Their animations are weird, so until you get used to it, it can be difficult to dodge some of their attacks. And later on, they can climb on walls. Somehow. But what makes them so dangerous is their uncanny ability to blend in with the environment. I've never thought of the mannequins as a stealthy enemy, but I guess that's what they are now. They remind me of the mimics from Prey 2017. They like to hide behind corners, under tables, right behind you in real life, right now, right this second. But don't turn around, it will only make them angrier. They can be annoying at times, but I think they add a lot of suspense to the game. In addition to the suspense you feel by just playing a Silent Hill game, they really make you watch your step. Look at that, thinks she can hide from me. I see you, bitch. Die, you have no idea who you're messing with. Pfft, pfft. Thinks she can sneak up on me. Who does she think she is, huh? Oh, finally, it's been a long time since I've played The Last of Us. James gets to the part where a little girl steps on his hands, but he doesn't really react to it. Does he not feel pain?
Wait!
I know he's all depressed and hollow, but this is ridiculous.
Oh, fuck. I can't believe you've done this.
Now watch how it was in the original.
Ow! Hey, wait!
This whole apartment section is largely the same as before, at least in the beginning. A little girl steps on James's hands because she's a
Snotty little brat!
A chubby weirdo named Eddie is sitting next to a toilet and tells us that he didn't kill anyone. He's really trying to convince us.
Who's there?
It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't do it, I swear. I didn't do anything. He was like that when I got here. I didn't do it. I swear I didn't kill him.
Then James also decides to hang around toilets, but he goes much, much deeper. We also meet Angela again, who is thinking about doing some bad stuff with her knife. I know what you're waiting for. You want to see if the remake changed any of the sensitive content. Well, I'm happy to report that it didn't. It's still as depressing as ever. Yay! And of course, how can I forget the Geometry Man? He never looked so beautiful. Now you're probably thinking, okay, so it's mostly the same. You already talked about the original for 3 goddamn hours, you fucking weirdo. What's the difference here? What are the changes? Alright, I'll tell you. Just stop being so aggressive, damn. Well, for starters, Eddie actively expresses a desire to escape this town, and even wants James to come with him.
Might be best if you just get out of here.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, you want to come with? Maybe together we can find a way out of this town.
But James is like, nah, I'd rather search for my dead wife. Who knows? I might find a hotter version of her. Eddie will remember that.
Oh.
Eddie, are you gonna be okay?
Yeah, I guess.
Angela's cutscene is basically the same. She's still depressed.
Will you hold it for me? If I kept it, I'm not sure what I might do. No! I'm sorry! I've been bad! Please don't!
and Pyramid Head kind of just shows up. In the original, James walks in on him while he's doing some inappropriate stuff with some mannequins. But here, James walks into an empty room, and then Pyramid Head is suddenly there. I didn't hear him come in, and I don't think he's the type to use stealth. Did he teleport here? James then hides in the closet like a bitch and shoots him with a pistol. Pyramid Boy walks up to him and stares deep into James's soul, before doing his weird hand motions and walking away. He's like, "Ouch man, why did you shoot me? That was uncalled for, man. That was really mean. Whatever, I'll deal with you later. Come here, bitch." For now, that's it in terms of the story. But what about the gameplay? What changed? Well, they mostly recreated everything in this game, down to the bullet holes on the walls. It's great. Unfortunately, you can't shoot the locks off. Bad game. 1 out of 10. Wait, this wasn't here before? Oh my god. Well, thanks for the key. All of that is the same, but at the same time, there are a lot of changes. For starters, the whole apartment section is way longer, which is something you can say about every location in this game. Bloober Team added a lot more puzzles to each area, so you'll be doing even more backtracking than usual. Whether that's a good or a bad thing? I guess that's a matter of preference. I think it's fine. The remake lets you unlock shortcuts that weren't there before, which almost makes this feel like a Metroidvania. So your first big objective is to find 3 coins. But because this time the game doesn't pause when you pick up items, you have to be quick, or these fuckers will spit on you. Sometimes you'll get hurt and you'll need to find some health items. Yes, a health box. What's inside? Bullets. Bullets inside of a first aid kit. Makes sense. We find the juice 6-pack, and James casually puts all of it in his coat. It looks like he's shoplifting. Weirdly enough, the place where you need to use it is right next to it. Usually you find it in a different location and you need to figure out what you're supposed to do with it. But here, there's nothing to figure out. It's not even a puzzle. Using the juice pack leads us to the second coin. Shut up. We pick up the coin, which we usually find only after meeting Angela. Heading back to the coin puzzle, we start to solve it, and I really appreciate how they gave you the option to read the text and interact with the puzzle at the same time. It's similar to the original puzzle, which you can actually find, but it's broken. Usually you only need to solve one riddle, but now there are multiple riddles, back to back, forcing you to place the coins in different slots each time. There's a lot of puzzles that were expanded. They have more layers to them, and I really like it. Makes you think. You feel like a smart person. Unless you're not able to solve it, then you're a dumb person.
I'm not like you.
Remember the other world? A more nightmarish version of the place you're currently in? Previously, it didn't appear until you got deep into Brookhaven Hospital. This time, you get there after shooting the poor Triangle Man. Opening the door leads to a nearby building, and an achievement comes up and spoils that we've entered the other world. A stronger variant of the lying figure shows up. Now after you kill it, it shits all over itself, which can damage you. Not cool. You can also break walls now. There's enemy corpses scattered all over the place. Some of them are playing the Dead Space game and are just pretending to be dead. It was actually tense. I started carefully walking around and checking bodies to make sure they stay down. But some of them got up anyway. Just when I thought I was safe, an enemy that I've missed suddenly showed up next to me and gave me the heebie-jeebies. Great stuff. There's an area that really looks like the place where you originally fought Pyramid Head. Well, fight is a bit generous. It was more like running away from him for 5 minutes until he gets bored and leaves.
Life is full of mysteries. Life is full.
The clock puzzle, which should have appeared at the beginning of this section, only shows up now, in the other world. And again, there's multiple phases to this puzzle. It's not as simple as it was in the original. There's a note that gives us a clue. Henry, from Silent Hill 4, is afraid of Scott. Poor Henry, he just keeps suffering for no reason. First Henry, and now a chained door? Am I playing Silent Hill 4 again? No, it actually leads to a radio, hanging from the ceiling. Which is normal. I mean, who doesn't hang radios on ceilings? Basically, we need to find the 3 clock handles. Each time we find one, we need to go back to the clock and point it at the right number, which in turn will open a door for us, which will then lead to more puzzles. You're gonna see this puzzle design in each location. There's always going to be at least one central puzzle that forces you to solve multiple smaller puzzles in different locations, and then do a lot of backtracking. Again, I kind of like it, but it's a matter of preference. Question: if you finish the clock puzzle quickly, can you then say that you completed a quick time event? You know, clock, time, you did it quick, it was an event, whatever, don't answer. After completing it, we notice scratch marks, or more like sword marks. We follow their trail, which leads us to the final door. And finally, we're face to face with the legend himself. Come on, I played Dark Souls, just dodge and attack. Easy. I can take you. Oh shit. The bosses in this game are awesome. They're probably my favorite part of this remake. I almost wish there was some kind of boss rush mode. Bloober Team took the original concept and added more complexity to it, more phases, just like they did with the puzzles. Each boss has multiple stages that get more and more aggressive, kind of like a Dark Souls boss. You even have invincibility frames. It's actually really fun fighting the bosses this time. And as you know, the bosses are never the highlight of these games. They're usually okay at best, so I'm really happy with what they did here. If they ever remake the other Silent Hill games, I would be really curious to see how the bosses will play there. At the same time, all of these changes do not ruin the survival horror atmosphere. It doesn't suddenly turn into a super duper action game. You're still just a dork who can barely swing his piece of wood. Haha, that's what she said. Because I played the original, I know that you're supposed to just run away from him until he gets bored and walks away. I do that until it suddenly starts raining, which pisses him off and makes him more aggressive. Then, like a dumbass, I look up to see where the rain is coming from because I thought there was a ceiling here and I get hit. Why is it raining anyway? Is this downpour? Oh, it's probably related to one of the endings. I see. You can just run away like usual, but if you decide to fight, well, you still won't be able to kill him, but the more you hit him, the more you speed up the process, and the fight will end much quicker. After about 10 tries, I finally managed to get to this point. Pyramid Head hears the siren, he stops attacking and begins walking away. If you get close to him during this time, he will try to kill you, so good thing I managed to dodge, or else I would have needed to do this whole boss fight again. He opens the giant doors with one hand, like a Giga Chad, and leaves us to our own devices. Wow, I really like this fight. But I have one question. How is this lamp hanging in the air, or is there a ceiling somewhere up above? Somehow, we made it. We survived the apartments, and we're back on the streets. Now, we need to survive this girl.
Hey, it was you, wasn't it? You're the one who stepped on my hand.
Maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe I did.
Her name is Laura, and she tells James that
you didn't love love Mary anyway.
What?
And James is like, what?
What?
How do you know about my wife? Oh well, time to meet my wife's clone.
Mary? No. You're not.
Do I look like your girlfriend?
Maria is arguably the most important character in the game. She represents James's inner wish to have a more lively and outgoing version of his wife, but he doesn't know it yet. Her performance needs to be top-notch in the remake. And while I do prefer the original, I think that for the most part, the new voice actress does a good job. She's even more playful here, and even a bit more manipulative, which really adds to her character. But occasionally, in a few instances, her delivery is kind of flat and hollow, and not in a good way. Even then, it didn't bother me much, except for one specific scene, which I will talk about when we get to it. Curiously, she doesn't tell James about the hotel, like she's supposed to, which is where he's supposed to look for his wife, cause that's the special place Mary mentioned in her letter. Instead, Maria wants to physically show him a place that she thinks might be that special place.
What kind of place?
The kind two lovers might call special. I can show you if you want.
Can't you just tell me where it is?
No.
Okay, so first of all, no, you can't hit her this time. Was she always this tall, or is it because I'm hunched over?
This place we're going to, what is it exactly?
It used to be kind of a special place for young couples in these parts. I think it's easier if I just show you.
I think it will be easier if you just tell me.
Whoa! Hey! Why'd you do that?
Don't question me, woman.
You startled me.
You can disobey her and explore the town for a bit, instead of going where she wants you to go. One of the places you can visit is the bowling alley. This time it's an optional location, but you should still go there, if only to see the pizza again.
This town's full of monsters. Who could just sit here and eat
Pizza!
This made me smile. Eventually you'll need to go to where Maria tells you to go, but in order to get there, we have to go to a motel. There might be a reference to Silent Hill 3 over there. Are we gonna get a remake of that game as well?
Hey! You think I'd look good in this one?
Sure.
Not quite the ringing endorsement, but hey, I'll take it.
After finding a key and surviving these legs that really like to strangle her, really like to strangle her,
Please help me!
we're able to open the gate which leads us out of here. Wait, are we going to the Baldwin Mansion? It's from the original expansion, where you actually play as Maria. I wonder how it will look in this new engine. Oh, it's locked.
Stop it. You're disturbing me.
I break more car windows, as you do, but then the monsters got really fed up with my vandalism, so they all decided to chase after me. There's a lot of them, so we have to run away. And James decides to use his only melee weapon to block their path. Now, for a second there, I thought the game was gonna make me play without a weapon for a while. I was afraid it would devolve into what you'd find in a shitty indie horror game, where you have no combat system and you could only run away from the spooky monsters. But no, 2 seconds later you find a big old pipe. So that's good. Yeah, look at my new big pipe. Isn't it beautiful? Ah, fuck. Here I decided to check if Maria can die. And yes, she can. Ah, man. Why can't I kill her? The monsters get to have all the fun. There's tons of enemies here. You're supposed to run away, but I killed every single one of them, just to prove that I can, and to show my dominance. Now that's some toxic masculinity right there. Yeah, this piece of wood will surely stop them. You're lucky I killed everyone. Eventually Maria leads us to her strip club. This time, she only uses one key to unlock the door, instead of 3. Hey, the sign says keep the door closed. You hooligan. In the original, it was just a small location that you pass by in 5 seconds. In the remake, it's still a small location that you pass by in 5 seconds, but they added a new cutscene. Maria tries to convince James to stay here, but after he expresses his frustration, she apologizes and tries to make him drink whatever cocktail this is. It's hinted that James might be a former alcoholic, because he doesn't want to drink.
No?
But he does stare at the glass for way too long, like he's thinking about taking a sip, but he knows that he shouldn't. And also, fighting monsters while you're drunk is probably not a good idea. Or is it?
You gonna dance for me, big guy? I'd pay to see that.
They leave this fine establishment and we get an entirely new scene, which I don't really know what the point of it is. Maybe I didn't understand it, but it seems unnecessary to me. This is the special place Maria wanted to show us. Apparently, she thought that they would find Mary here. Well, they don't. Instead, she starts telling us about a supposed local fairy tale. It's about a woman who was sentenced to die, and a man that was deeply in love with her. But then one night, the man dies on the lake, and yet the woman kept waiting for him. I get that this random story is supposed to be an allegory for James's journey and his relationship with Mary. I just don't understand what's the point of it. It doesn't really add anything to the narrative and mostly feels like filler to me. Maybe it's too deep for me to understand. That's what she said. I can think of only one reason for this story to exist. It might be tied to a certain theory that we'll talk about at the end. Realizing that Mary isn't here after all puts James in a depressive mood. Maria tries to comfort him when suddenly they hear a scream in the distance.
There's plenty of other places to look. We can still...
Come on.
Now, I hear screams all the time in real life, and I mainly just ignore them. It gets quiet after a while. But for whatever reason, they decide to investigate the origin of the scream, which leads them to a brand new location. A movie theater. James climbs through an opening while Maria waits for him. We find out that that little girl, Laura, is the one who produced that scream, because a rat jumped at her or something. She's here with Eddie, and she still calls him a...
gutless fatso. Ha! You're just a gutless fatso.
Apparently they're just chilling here? We were supposed to find them at the bowling alley, but now we find them here. Are they just staring at the white screen? Let's fix that. They talk about how Eddie ran away from the cops after he did something bad. And Laura is like, just say you're sorry, bro. The cops will instantly forgive you. Laura then runs away and James decides to ask Eddie what's up. He comments on how he's happy Eddie got his appetite back, which is another way of saying, hey, I see you're doing better now. I'm happy for you. But to Eddie, it seemed more like an insult. Notice his reaction. He's wiping his hand on his shirt, like he's ashamed that he really has this big appetite. It's a subtle inclusion by Bloober Team, and I really like it. If you'll remember, Eddie is dealing with severe trauma over his weight and appearance. He was bullied for a big chunk of his life. always being called fat and ugly, which you know, isn't very nice. But that's not all. There's another new and great detail. Notice how you can see his breath. Like, it's freezing. Like he's in a cold place. But it doesn't happen with James, only Eddie. It's a subtle foreshadowing for things to come. Remember, each character is trapped in their own version of Silent Hill. His version looks like a big meat freezer, which explains his breath. Also, he gets upset when James asks for his help in finding Laura. When Eddie asked him to tag along back at the apartment, James refused. But now that he needs help, now he wants to team up. Eddie got offended by that. I told you he would remember that. Like before, James decides to chase after Laura, because he doesn't want a little girl to be alone in a monster-infested town.
Laura, stop! It's dangerous!
And I've made this joke before, but I'll say it again. Unlike certain YouTubers and streamers, James at least has a good reason for chasing after a minor. She runs into a hospital, so we do the same. Okay, we're actually not running. We're just walking. You cut me, okay? I've been exposed. Something I neglected to mention is how there's no loading screens whenever you're going into new areas. There's no loading screens at all, actually, except for when you load your save. It's an obvious change to make to a game that's over 20 years old, but it's a big deal. It makes everything feel more connected.
You trying to blind me, James?
At the same time, there is a change that I don't really like. You can't really interact with random objects. In the older games, whenever you approached pretty much anything, the protagonists always had something to say. It's not a big deal, but it gave them more character, and this feature is absent in the remake. Whatever. Nurses in training? Ah. Too bad I'm gonna kill them soon. Not too long after entering the hospital and solving a couple of puzzles, we arrive at a very spooky basement. I said spooky basement, not goofy basement. Lying figures and mannequins are scattered all over the damn place. It's actually kind of terrifying being down here, not gonna lie. They really nailed it with the atmosphere and the sound design. I mean, I'm not scared or anything. I'm just saying, for the average person, it's probably scary. Ha 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 ha. Oh. We power up a generator in order to activate an elevator. Now we can get to the upper floors, but the second we step out, Maria starts to feel kind of bad and decides to take a nap. A nap in a monster-infested hospital. Seems like a safe thing to do. She's lying on the bed and trying to seduce James, but he prefers to go after little girls. But then, we get some new dialogue.
I wanted to ask you. What if you can't find Mary? What will you do?
I haven't really thought about that.
Get back soon, okay?
That's a really good question. It's something that neither James nor I asked ourselves in the original. What if he really can't find her? Will he just go home? Will he try searching for her in another spooky town? I hear Raccoon City is a nice place to visit. Soon after, we come face to face with the bubble nurses, and they are aggressive. They can grab your weapon and push you away. They don't give a fuck. They also wield a pipe. But my pipe is stronger than yours, bitch. Later, we meet a knife-wielding variant, which are even tougher. They're the second most dangerous enemy in the game, right after the mannequins. But thankfully, we find a shotgun. And it's even in the exact same place. At last. I missed you, buddy. Let's see if you're powerful. Yeah, I think it's powerful. Eventually we find this hole in the wall. James really likes holes, so he goes inside of it. But then he kind of slips. This scene wasn't in the original, and I do not know what the point of it is, but it's super claustrophobic. Maybe it represents how he feels stuck, but he still pushes to go on. Or maybe it's just a random, spooky scene they added.
Hey, are you okay?
Go away!
Don't be afraid, I just want to talk.
If I was a child and an adult man was chasing after me and saying things like, "Don't be afraid, I just want to talk," I would run away too. Like in the apartments, Bluebird team added tons of new puzzles, but kept some of the originals too. Like the one where you need to use a bent needle to get a key from the drainage. This time though, you're not combining it with a fucking piece of hair, you combine it with a tube. But wait a second, in the original, James first examines the hole and sees that there's something there. And that's what makes him decide to go through with all of the trouble to reach inside of it. But here, James doesn't say anything. I guess he was like, ha ha ha, a random hole on the floor, let's put a needle inside of it. Here's another creative way to use the map. There's this book puzzle which gives you weird symbols that you need to use on a different puzzle. I wasn't going to remember all of these symbols, so I took a photo of it on my phone. But 2 seconds later, I noticed James writing the clues on the map. I really like that. It makes sense for him to do it, and it's super convenient. You don't need to run back and forth to check the symbols in case you forget them. Eventually we find ourselves on the roof. And look at that, it's already night. So beautiful. Remember how Pyramid Head used James to break this fence? Well, it's already broken here, like it already happened. Well, whatever. That probably means we're safe. It means Pyramid Head will not show up here, holy moly! I am doing a bit for the video, but this genuinely startled me when I first played it. I did not expect to open the door and see him just standing there. After a lot of bullshit, we finally find Laura. And just like before, she locks James in a room with some big fleshy lips. Flying lips, aka the second boss.
Get out of here, you snotty little brat!
In your dreams, fart face. You fart face! See a fart face!
Laura! Laura!
The second boss appears before us, and this is where we can really see the difference in the boss fights. Instead of 3 flesh lips that you can easily shoot from a distance, this time there's only 1. So you might think, oh well, this just makes it easier. You just need to kill 1 monstrosity and that's it. But then you realize that it can transform. At first, it's very passive. It drops down, you hit it a few times, and it goes away. However, after sustaining enough damage, the cage starts to break apart, and it uses it like a hand. Then the cage breaks apart even more, and it uses it as legs, kind of like a weird spider. Or Dr. Octopus.
Long-eyed bitty bitty bum, if I were a wealthy man. Oi!
Before you know it, you're dealing with a really fast enemy that can close the distance almost instantly. Or it will just jump back into the ceiling to try and set up an ambush. You can actually break parts of the ceiling yourself in order to expose the creature, but it's kind of a waste of bullets. It's better to just wait for it to come down. As the fight progresses, the environment will begin to change, at least to some degree, showing you the destruction these monsters are capable of. Again, I really like what they did with the bosses, and the enemies in general. Even if you have some problems with how they handle the story and characters, which is understandable, I'm sure you will at least enjoy the gameplay. It's good. After a tense battle with the upside down pussy lips, we emerge victorious.
This is an unfortunate turn of events.
In the original, James was suddenly put on a hospital gurney and was transported to the other world. Here, he's grabbed by another flesh lip, who I guess was watching the whole fight from the ceiling, but decided not to intervene, and then James is put on a hospital gurney and transported to the other world. It's the fan. Whenever you're in the other world, there's always a fan, for some reason. We finally arrive at the central puzzle of the hospital. I was under the impression they removed it, but no. This stupid box is back. But now, not only are you supposed to unlock all of these locks, you're also supposed to go on like 10 fetch quests in order to do so. There are chains leading you to multiple destinations. Basically, you need to explore the whole hospital again, but this time it's more spooky because you're in the other world. There's lots of smaller puzzles you need to solve, lots of items you need to find. And of course, you need to deal with tons of monsters on the way. Again, I don't mind these changes, I like them for the most part, but I think that some people might see this as padding or filler. Oh shit, it's spooky now. It's actually spooky, but not as spooky as these trick shots. Look at that. Look at this. Ha, you messed with the wrong guy. Ah. Are you tired of this joke? Okay, now that was spooky. Did you see that? Was she ice skating? Wow, James, look. Look at this juicy, shitty toilet. Really makes you feel like sticking your hand inside, huh? No? Not this time? Okay then. Eventually, we finally complete all of the puzzles and are granted access to this mysterious box. Last time, the only thing it gave us was a stinky piece of hair. But now it's...
We happy?
No, actually there's nothing. Seriously. Nothing. Nothing.
What's it gonna be?
I'll take the box! The box!
You took the box! Let's see what's in the box! Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid! You're so stupid!
Not even a piece of hair. That's even worse. It does somehow cause a curtain behind us to drop, revealing a secret passage. I'm pretty sure I could have just taken down the curtain myself, but before that, we need to go inside of an elevator, and I'm happy to report that the random elevator game show is back.
Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to another exciting edition of Trick or Treat, where you answer our questions correctly and win a prize beyond your wildest dreams. Or you fail to answer correctly and receive the punishment. It's all in the hands of our lucky contestant, James Sunderland. James, are you ready to play Trick or Treat?
No.
Excellent!
If later you find a special box and answer everything correctly, you will get a nice reward. You're gonna look for the answers online. Come on, you can't fool me. I know you. After more shenanigans, we meet up with Maria.
Anyway, I'm glad you're alive.
Anyway? What do you mean, anyway? Anyway? What do you mean, anyway?
Anyway, we open the secret passage and Maria starts to hesitate. Something is holding her back.
What's wrong? I thought you wanted to get out of here.
I know. It's just... something doesn't feel right.
You have a bad feeling, huh? You're afraid, huh? You feel like you're gonna get impaled by someone who likes geometry, huh? Yeah, it could happen to anyone.
Come on. It's gonna be fine.
Why are you lying, James? It's definitely not going to be fine.
I like the spotlight, but that's a bit excessive.
We go down to the super basement and our best buddy returns. The game doesn't let you use weapons here, so you can't troll him like I did in the original. You have to run like hell. Look at him go. He never looked so good. I was admiring him for too long when he cosplayed as the Kool-Aid Man and I got stabbed. This whole section really feels like how I imagined it in my head back in the day. Except for this part. Notice how she's ahead of me, but suddenly she's behind me. Well, whatever. There's enough time for the both of us to get inside. Look, Pyramid Head is actually waiting for us. He's just standing there. And he stabbed her. It's not the first time she's going to be penetrated by his long and thick spear. After losing the stripper, we see Laura running away from the hospital. So like a creep, James chases after her throughout the dark streets.
Laura, stop! It's dangerous!
He says, while pointing a gun at her. As you'd expect, there are monsters all over the streets. It's actually creepy exploring the town in this darkness. You never know if something will jump at you. Kind of like in real life. That's why I also carry a big pipe with me whenever I go out. One thing the remake does that I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing is the fact that it's way harder to just run away from enemies. Usually, you could outrun pretty much anything. Easily. The monsters were too busy making weird noises than going after you. Here, on the other hand, the monsters are kind of relentless. They're actually going to chase you, which adds to the challenge, but might be frustrating for some people. If you run away long enough, they will eventually give up. They think you're not worth it anymore. Then you use this opportunity to show them how wrong they were. It's here where we meet the Mandarins. They're back, and this time you can actually look down and see them in their full glory. Pussy hands and all. They'll try to stab you with something. They also like to scream at you. They will show you just how dangerous they are later on. Our next destination is the Silent Hill Historical Society, but it's locked, so we need to find a key in the park. I guess James just forgot about Laura? What happened to wanting to protect her? James is weird. Oh hey, look, it's Angela. This is a brand new scene. When I think about it, it was kind of strange how in the original there was a huge time gap between your second and third encounter with Angela. You saw her towards the end of the apartment section, then the next time you see her is at the end of the prison section, which is almost towards the end of the game.
Liar!
In between, you encounter Pyramid Head multiple times, you encounter Eddie multiple times, you meet Maria, you meet Laura, you go through the entire hospital section. So much stuff is happening to you that by the time you meet Angela again, you might just forget who she was. But in the remake, they added this scene to remind you that, hey, this chick with serious issues still exists. Don't forget about her. That's one way to look at it, but I think this scene serves another purpose. It might promote a certain time loop theory. We shall save that for later. Basically, she tells James that her mama probably isn't here. He offers to tag along. He's trying to be a good person, but she declines. Then, she sees her daddy, freaks out, and runs away. Finding the key next to the statue, we head to the Historical Society. And this is where shit really hits the fan. The Historical Society. We head inside and see a remade version of Pyramid Head's selfie.
It's him.
So beautiful. It's a place of culture and art. So of course, we immediately start smashing everything like a caveman. We discover a hole in the wall. As we all know, James really likes big holes, so he can't help himself and goes inside. Just like before, it's unsettling, and there's a very ominous trumpet sound. Or whatever this is. We reach a hole in the floor. We're about to see a lot of those. The game really wants to make sure that you're insane and you want to jump inside, so it makes you press the use button not once, but twice. And it's the same each time. After satisfying James's hole fetish, we find Eddie, and again, notice his breath. Oof.
Just put the gun to their head and...
Eddie?
Oh, hi, James.
I don't know if this scene is even more creepy this time. It's a bit different, but it's well executed. It's less goofy. It's clear that Eddie killed someone, or at least it looks like it. The main difference here is instead of James just telling him that shooting someone because they looked at you funny isn't really a normal thing to do, now he's almost interrogating Eddie. He wants him to describe the whole situation. What happened? Did this person attack Eddie and Eddie just acted in self-defense? Was this person tall or short? Did he watch Dragon Ball? What was the color of his underwear? Okay, James, stop asking stupid questions.
He kept looking at me, making fun of me. I told him not to, but he didn't listen.
Eddie, you can't just kill someone because of the way they looked at you.
Eddie's reaction is also different. Instead of getting upset with James, he says this.
You should see your face, James. I was just joking. The guy was dead when I got here. I got you, didn't I?
It's just a joke.
Well, anyway, I better get going.
Wait. You're gonna go out there alone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie?
I'm not going to cover everything here, because there's so much stuff going on. It will take me 10 hours to talk about all of that. And I think that this video is long enough, but trust me when I tell you that this is by far the scariest, most tense part of the game. Even though it's a big open area, the game still manages to find ways to make you feel claustrophobic. Sometimes it just throws you into tight hallways. Every enemy type is here. Sometimes all of them will attack you at the same time. Yes, even the nurses are here. In the original, they disappeared from the game the second you entered the Historical Society. But I guess someone really wanted to put them behind bars. Also, the enemies are acting goofy again. Yeah, shake that booty, shake that booty, shake that booty. Bam! And the mannequins. Oh, the mannequins. They're even more dangerous now. They started to cosplay as a spider. Get down from there. You're not Spider-Man. How are you even doing that? How are you grabbing the walls? You don't have any fingers. And another one. So many cosplayers. Is this a prison or an anime convention? The only source of comfort you will have in this cruel place is the fact that you can't miss the rifle like you could in the original. You just need to find the key in order to get it, which is an easy enough task to accomplish. And the sniper, yeah, it's good. You are going to be running back and forth a lot throughout this section, and it's kind of terrifying each time. Yeah, this is creepy. Yeah, I don't think that was a good idea. There's always a chance that something will jump at you. And even when nothing's there, you still hear them crawling on the walls. Though, with enough determination, you will be able to slay all of them and leave a pile of bodies behind you. It's a very well made section. It's actually scary. I only have one complaint for this section. There's too many spider mannequins here. There's so much. Not only that, but I'm pretty sure that they can respawn. At one point it got so bad that I found myself going back to save my game every time I killed one of them. I like the idea of them trying so hard to blend with the environment that they somehow learned how to climb on walls. But enough is enough. Do not use the bathrooms. The main puzzle of this section are these scales. You need to find different weights, which you then use to open different doors around the prison area. Each door leads you to different puzzles and encounters, where you find more weights to bring back to the scales. A wax doll and a horseshoe? What kind of idiot would use such stupid items? You'll notice how the order of some of the events have changed. For example, they put the puzzle with the hanging corpses here. It's supposed to be a while until we get to it. This time there's actual consequences to failing. If you pull the wrong rope, you will fall into basically a monster basement, so read the notes carefully. The writings describe different criminals. We need to choose the innocent one, but it's more complicated this time. Before you even know which one to choose, you have to piece the stories yourself. Solving the puzzle grants us entrance into the ground. Which then leads us to... oh no, it's this part again. I'm ready. We're in Angela's house, or at least a projection of her house. She needs our help. We find her sitting on the floor, and, well, her daddy shows up.
Daddy!
This fight is significantly different from the last time. It starts similarly to the original game. You're stuck with this abomination in a tight space while it's trying to hug you, but after enough hits, he disappears. You realize that you're stuck inside of a maze. You don't know where he is, and the fight turns into a cat and mouse situation. But you're not the only one he's hunting. He's still going after Angela, even during the fight. I already talked about all of the backstory and lore of this boss and of every enemy in my video about the original game, so go see that if you haven't, but right now I'm just gonna highlight the differences. Look at the attention to detail. He runs at me, happens to touch the lamp, and the lamp stops working. In fact, the whole place is falling apart because of this bastard. This is awesome. And I also think it serves as further symbolism to show how destructive this person was. This is how she sees her father. He and her brother sexually abused her throughout her life. This whole section where you're running around what I assume to be a recreation of their house wasn't in the original. It's probably supposed to make us feel like Angela felt when she was running away from them. This is probably where she used to hide from them, back at their house. At least she had her teddy bear. When he shows up again, you can choose to also hide in the same place, which will make him go away. You really feel like you're running away from a genuine monster, but he's still a fleshy piece of shit, and fleshy pieces of shit can be killed. Eventually, we get to the actual boss arena, where the real fight begins. Don't be fooled by his lumbering appearance. He can close the distance very quickly if he wants to. He will mostly try to hug you, but if your dodging skills are good enough, you should be able to take him down, no problem. I believe in you. The Big Daddy falls down, as we teleport back to where we first saw Angela. She arrives and kicks the creature, but also throws a TV on him for good measure.
It's okay.
After that, their interaction is mostly the same. James tries to calm her down. Angela accuses him of being a horny man who just wants to stick his dick in tight holes. Hey, lady, that's not true. He likes to stick his hands in tight holes. Sometimes he likes to stick his entire body in tight holes. We get out of this place and the map just appears in our hands, literally out of nowhere. There's also this... whatever this is. I love this imagery, but don't touch it or it will kill you. I think James calls it a strange wall. That's one way to put it. The only path we can take is down these stairs, which leads us to a very, very significant scene. We find that Maria is somehow alive. And I think this is the part where you truly decide if you love or hate the performances of the new voice actors. Unless you haven't played or have no knowledge about the original game, then you probably don't care. Well, good for you then, smarty pants. Anyway, I'm gonna play the whole cutscene for you.
Maria? Maria! I thought that thing killed you. Are you hurt?
Not at all, silly.
But then it stabbed you. There was blood everywhere.
Stabbed me? What do you mean?
It chased us to the elevator and then...
James, what are you talking about?
Just before. Don't you remember?
James? Honey? Did something happen to you? After we got separated in that long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel?
Maria?
You said you took everything. But you forgot that videotape we made. I wonder if it's still there.
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
I'm not your Mary.
So you are Maria.
I am. If you want me to be.
All I want from you is an answer.
Doesn't matter who I am. I am here for you, James. See? I'm real. Don't you want to touch me?
I don't know.
Well, you happen to make up your mind. I'll be waiting.
I'll find some way to... I'll come back, I promise.
Freaky, right? Kind of a mindfuck. Generally speaking, I prefer the voice acting in the original. I think there's more emotion behind their voices. They feel more strange, yet more alive. But I'm not saying there's no emotion here. I really like it here too. It's good. All of the voice actors did a really good job. Especially Luke Roberts. He's the voice actor behind James, and he did a great job. He really sounds tired, distant, detached, and kind of hollow, in a good way. For the most part, all of them shed new light on these classic characters. They managed to kind of show a different side to them. There's just one scene that really bugged me. It's this part. In my opinion, this is the most important part of the game. And it's here where Maria says the most important line. I'm talking about the "I'm not your Mary" line. In the original, there's emotion behind it. Something sinister. A hint of malice. But for some reason, it's so fucking hollow here. It feels empty. Now, I don't want to bash on someone's hard work. I think that overall, Maria's voice actress did a good job. But in this specific instance, come on. Come on. I have no idea if she decided to sound so bored or if someone else told her to do it like this, but it's like she read the script while being stoned out of her mind. I think this is my only legitimate and harsh complaint towards this game, and I don't think it stems from nostalgia or something like that. It's a nitpick, but again, this is the most important scene in the game. Just listen to the original cutscene and then listen to this and tell me what you think is better.
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
I'm not your Mary.
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
I'm not your Mary.
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 I'm not your Mary. I'm not your Mary.
Anyway,
Anyway!
we go back the way we came from, and a new obstacle appears before us. The cube puzzle returns, and it's not shit. I think it's way better here. It looks cool, and I actually see and understand what I'm doing. Rotating the cube rotates this structure. You need to do this a bunch of times, so you can enter it through different openings. Each one will take you on a different path, where you will find the items that you need. When you go inside, it also looks really cool. It looks like that painting. You know, the one from Berserk. These things are back, and I'm not sure you can kill them. They will stalk you throughout this whole segment. Now this enemy actually poses some kind of threat. For the first time during this playthrough, I actually ran out of healing items, which made me quite anxious, more than usual. Every time you're done with one location, you need to go back here, and is that Pyramid Head's sword? Yes, but actually no. This is a glitch that I had. The sword is supposed to appear later on, after you finish all of the puzzles in this area, but for whatever reason it appeared now. That was weird, and I had to reload my save. I got excited here for no reason. You do meet Pyramid Head here, and he really wants to penetrate you with his long spear. Is he trying to wave goodbye? Well, goodbye, for now. Besides solving puzzles, you have to participate in what is basically one arena fight after the other. It's kind of brutal, especially on hard mode. You're stuck in one place for like a minute or two, and you are swarmed with enemies. The timer runs out, the door opens, you go to the next location and repeat the process. If you manage to survive until the time runs out, the remaining enemies will just die. The door will open and the madness will be over. At least for now. Running away from Pyramid Head for the last time, we finally reach Maria. And she's dead. Again. This time it's from a disease. The same disease that James's wife had. Don't worry, we'll see her again. After pretending to be sad, we can finally wield the legendary sword. My precious. Best weapon in the game. Look at how graciously he carries it. You can tell he's really enjoying himself.
No!
Unfortunately, you can't use it as an actual weapon, like last time. If you press the attack button, nothing will happen. That's too bad. I guess it's here to symbolize the heavy burden that James carries inside of him. Also, these things are letting us pass. They probably think that we're Pyramid Head, so we have permission to pass. Just like in the original, we reach a graveyard that has a bunch of tombstones with familiar names. Walter Sullivan. Oh. There are graves for Angela, Eddie, and James. Well, if you see a tombstone with your name on it, you gotta jump inside. We know what's coming next. At the end of this long corridor, Maria is gone. For now. We've dealt with Angela's problems. Now, it's time to deal with our blonde friend.
Don't you think blondes have more fun?
I had a theory when I played the original game that Eddie wasn't killing random people. We see multiple bodies around him, but I always thought that they were all the same guy. The asshole who bullied him and called him fat. Well, this game makes it abundantly clear that, yeah, that is what's happening. Eddie literally asks, how many times do I have to kill you?
How many times do I have to kill you?
Eddie? Whoa, Eddie, it's me.
Oh. Hi, James.
This interaction is very similar to the original. James kind of tries to lecture Eddie, while Eddie decides that James has probably been laughing at him this whole time. So of course he needs to die.
You think I'm stupid? You think I don't see it? But you've been laughing at me all along. Ever since we first met. But you ain't laughing now, are you?
He fucking punches him. Why can't he punch the monsters with his fists? Another change is this part.
Don't get all holy on me, James. This town called you too. You and me, we're the same. We're not like other people, don't you know that?
He's supposed to say it after you beat him and he runs away. Here he says it before running away.
Shut up!
The whole boss fight takes place exclusively in the next room. We follow him inside and he starts telling us about how he was bullied over his appearance, which eventually made him snap and shoot his bully in the knee, and also kill his dog, which is an unforgivable sin no matter how shit your life is.
But you know what? It was fun!
Come here! Come here! Whoa, you're pretty fast for a big fat... Oh.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Holy shit, he can headbutt you. Listen to how James screams. That must have hurt like hell. Also, something that I really like is that if you die, you don't need to listen to the dialogue over and over again. The fight starts immediately. That's convenient. For some reason, he really kicked my ass for a while. I guess it was revenge for what I did to him in the original. He can kill you in 2 shots. Almost 1 shot, at least on hard mode. After enough damage, you think it's over. But no, there's a second phase. He shoots this thing and now we can't see him. But he can see us. Somehow. So that's kind of bad. I kept spamming the dodge button in case he starts firing. Eventually I got him, but then he has another phase. I told you it's a Souls-like. Somehow he moved all of those hanging meat sacks with his head. They're constantly moving now and provide cover for him. He has a literal meat shield, but sometimes they might protect you too. After enough hits, he finally goes down. I think that was the toughest fight in the game for me. Well, almost the toughest. It was really fun, and also way less goofy. He doesn't scream like an animal this time. We get out of this meat factory and step outside. Our next destination is the hotel. Either I missed it or I forgot, but I'm pretty sure that in the remake, James doesn't mention the hotel even once, so I guess he just kind of randomly decides to go there? Maria did mention it in the prison scene, but James had no reaction to it. At some point, he could have at least said something like, "That lady behind bars mentioned the hotel. Maybe I should check it out." I don't know, something. He takes a boat and heads towards the light, because following a random light in the sky will always lead you to fancy hotels. Why would you take that? The hotel is the last location of the game, and it's great. Look at how beautiful it is. Even all of our friends are here. Laura is here somehow, and they engage in some light bantering.
Did I scare you?
Yeah, you did. I guess I deserved it, huh? The fart face that I am.
Maybe.
You got any other things planned? I think I saw a dark room back there you could lock me up in.
No. I think you've had enough. For now.
Well, that's reassuring.
These little interactions add more character to these characters. Also, she confirms what I said when I talked about the original. Back then, she said that she had a letter from Mary, but she dropped it somewhere and needed to go find it. Laura doesn't say who it's for, but I speculated that this letter is addressed to James, and it's the one he receives at the end of the game. Well, in the remake, she actually says that it's for James.
It kinda was his other letter. I think the one was for you. The envelope had your name on it.
She gives him the envelope, but oh my gosh, it's empty.
It's empty.
Yes, I just said that. Laura freaks out and runs to search for the missing letter. And James decides to stay here and play the piano. Is he playing with his head? Does he have telekinesis? The hotel is chilling. Literally. Playing it like this, with this camera perspective, you can really feel the grand scope of this grand hotel. It makes me feel like I'm in that hotel from The Shining. The only things that are missing are Jack Nicholson and an X.
Here's Johnny!
Of course there are new puzzles and new items to find. And even something more interactive than just picking up something. Shooting the glass to make this book fall down almost makes this feel like an immersive sim. But it's only this part. Everything has been expanded. Even the courtyard plays a bigger role this time. It's not here just for the scenery. You need to explore it, and there's even enemies here. And then there's even... Whoa! Whoa! A new boss fight? It's the Mandarin, the one with the pussy hands. That creature that's been hunting us from below the grates. It was the most underwhelming and easily forgotten creature in the original game. So here, they not only made it an actual threat, but also turned it into a boss fight. God damn. He mainly attacks you with his tongue, but he also has a very special attack, where he drops your game to 5 FPS and then kills you. I don't know how to defend against that one. For now, you only gotta deal with one of them, and you have weapons, so it's not that big of a deal. Later on, there's a part where you lose your weapons for a few minutes, and have to avoid multiple mandarins at once. Don't try this at home, kids. I don't know how you would go about trying this at home, but don't try this at home. One of the coolest things about remaking a game like this is having the ability to take a closer look at all of the disgustingly beautiful enemy designs, and see all of the disturbing creatures in detail. Now you can really see how this enemy resembles the closer from Silent Hill 3. I know what you're waiting for. You want to see that moment, the big reveal, the big plot twist. Okay, fine, I'll show it to you. If you don't know about it, then maybe this revelation will shock you. If you do know about it from the original, then you're probably curious if it's changed somehow in the remake. Earlier, I said that the prison scene with Maria is the most important part of the story, in my opinion. But obviously, this scene is also super important. It's the biggest plot twist in the game, and it's basically the catalyst for the whole plot. James finds a videotape that apparently he and Mary recorded together when they stayed at this hotel, all those years ago. He decides to watch it. I think this part is even more disturbing this time around. Though, if you're a Silent Hill fan, you've probably seen crazier shit than this. You weirdo. Here we go again.
Are you taping again? Come on. I don't know why, but I just love it here. It's so peaceful. You know what I heard? This whole area used to be a sacred place. I think I can see why. It's too bad we have to leave. Promise you'll take me again, James?
God damn. You can actually hear her scream as he's choking the life out of her, and they show it from different angles. So yeah, the big twist is that James killed his wife Mary. She was sick with a fatal illness. She was gonna die anyway, so James just said, "Fuck it, I don't want to wait for her to die. I'll just kill her myself. Now I don't have to take care of her and I can be free and live my life. And maybe look at other women." That's obviously a very surface level explanation, but it is kind of true, even though he probably spent most of his time being depressed over her death. Supposedly, some part of him also did it to end her suffering. He thought that maybe it's just better for her to die than continue living out this dreadful existence. When we see him at the beginning of the game, his mind makes him believe that she did die from the illness. Her death was so traumatic to him that he somehow managed to repress his memory. He basically forgot that he killed her, which sounds stupid when I say it out loud, but that's what happened. It's a form of amnesia. You know that letter he got from Mary that told him to come to Silent Hill in the first place? Yeah, that was never real. If you check your inventory after watching the tape, the envelope that contained her letter will be empty, because it wasn't real to begin with. With the help of Silent Hill's mystical powers, his mind created it to draw him to this town, so he can face his punishment. just like his mind created all of the creatures we've encountered. If you want a detailed explanation about the symbolism, what all of the monsters represent, and even more in-depth look into the story, I recommend you watch my video about the original Silent Hill 2. After realizing the truth, Laura walks in and asks him where Mary is. But after James tells her that she will never see her again because he sort of, murdered her in cold blood, she gets super upset and leaves. Jeez, this little girl that was just informed that her friend died is so sensitive. What a baby. The hotel slowly reveals its true, pathetic state. It's decaying, it's leaking, it's in shambles. It was like this the entire time. We just hadn't noticed. In his head, James was stuck in the past because of his obsession with Mary. So to him, the hotel literally looked like its past self. You know, when it was still beautiful. In reality, it burned down a while ago. You could actually see the decay starting to spread just before watching the tape, which is a nice detail. The TV is super broken. I don't know how he watched the tape like that. But he didn't actually watch it. It was actually his repressed memories coming back to him. Yeah, I know, shut up. There are no more monsters in this section. You can freely explore and collect items. The only real monster here is you. Okay, not actually you, I mean James. Oh, maybe. Did you do it? Yeah, I knew it. Curiously, there's a lying figure that is just lying on the floor. It's curled up in a fetal position. It doesn't try attacking you, even if you hit it. It's like it gave up. So I shot it. And it's not just that. All of the enemies gave up. They served their purpose. They're not needed anymore. Even the fucking mannequin just wants to be left alone. The only spooky mannequin left is this one with the glasses. Why does it have glasses? Before finishing our journey, we have to view the ending of someone else's story. Angela's last encounter is almost exactly the same as in the original. She's found on a burning staircase, where she mistakes us for her mama, somehow.
Mama? Mama! I was looking for you!
I know it's because of the power of Silent Hill, but maybe her mother actually looked like a weird, blonde man. She snaps out of her delusion, and James agrees with her that maybe they shouldn't have come here. What they've been searching for isn't here. She thanks him for saving her from her big daddy, but ultimately decides that it doesn't matter. She feels her pain is too strong. Her trauma can't be healed. No one can truly save her. So that said, James still comments on how hot it is before being told by Angela that this is how it is for her. This is what she sees on a regular basis. She continues climbing the fiery staircase only to disappear out of sight. Yeah, this is still a very sad moment. This time, James leaves immediately afterwards. Her story may have ended, but we still have 2 boss fights left, and they are intense. There's only one metaphoric creature that still has a duty to fulfill. It's this Giga Chad. 2 of them. They got Maria, and they're about to execute her. Again. For some reason, the game doesn't show Pyramid Head getting ready to impale Maria. And she doesn't really have a reaction. You just kind of hear the penetration sound, and then James screams immediately. If you haven't played the original, you might not even understand what happened. It falls a bit flat. We do see a trail of blood on her face, which is the only visual indication that she was stabbed. Other than that, great cutscene. James realizes that the Geometry Man is actually his desire to be punished for killing a defenseless woman, but now that he knows what happened, he doesn't need him anymore.
I don't need you anymore.
So he challenges them to Mortal Kombat.
I'm ready.
This is the only fight that stays incredibly faithful to the original. It doesn't really have phases, but it still got a few upgrades. As the fight progresses, the whole structure begins to collapse, as James's mind comes to grips with what he's done. Also, they can throw their spears at you. Cool. After hitting and shooting them a bunch of times, they start approaching James menacingly. But after realizing that he's the actual Giga Chad, they decide there's no reason to go on living. They stab themselves with their spears in glorious HD graphics. This is beautiful. James is like, what the fuck just happened? Are they T-posing? Look at these majestic creatures. I wish I could have them as my pet. Also, Bloober Team brought back the door with the weird face. I still don't know what that's all about. There's only one thing left to do. Something all of us can do right now in real life. But it's not advisable, because you will lose. Which is to argue with a woman.
Mary? I have missed you so much.
I've missed you too. We can finally be together. Forever.
Wait, what? That was my reaction at first. It says Mary in the subtitles. I was actually bamboozled for a second, and I thought they changed the ending. I thought it was actually Mary. But no, it's just Maria. You can see her name changing in the subtitles when James starts to reject her.
What do you want? Do you even know anymore? I'm yours. I'm here for you. So what if I'm not her? I can give you what she never could. I can be better than her. What else do you want me to be? What else can I be?
I am so sorry, Maria. I really am. But this has to stop. It's time to let it go.
I really like the changes they made to this cutscene. It's way more emotional than the original. There, she immediately admits that she's not Mary.
When will you ever stop making that mistake? Mary's dead. You killed her.
James doesn't even touch her. He's like, oh, it's you, the stripper. Well, I don't need you anymore, so...
What?
She tries to convince him for about 5 seconds, but then she gives up and tells him to fuck off and die. Here, there's so much stuff going on. She tries to pretend that she's Mary for as long as possible. She's desperate. They hug it out, but eventually, James realizes who she is. He rejects her, but at the same time, he's deeply apologetic. James finally realized the truth, and even understands what Maria is. He's sympathetic, but ultimately decides that it's best to let go. Mary is gone forever. If only he realized that before coming to this spooky town. Mary is gone forever, and Maria can't replace her, no matter how hard she tries. You can see the sadness in both of them. But Maria, well, she doesn't want to let go. She's a clingy bitch.
No.
What?
I won't let you do this to me. I won't let you go. I can't!
This was the toughest boss fight in the game for me. I think most of my deaths happened here. She still transforms into a nun in a cage, or whatever this is. At first, it's pretty much the same as in the original. She sends her bugs to attack you. She will try to grab you with her tongue thing, but then Her flying box turns into a spider, and phase 2 begins. She shouts at you so hard, the floor breaks and you fall into a stinky sewer. Now it plays out more like the Fleshlip boss. She will try to ambush you from the ceiling like some kind of stalker ex-girlfriend. That's what they do, they always come out of the ceiling. This was really intense. I actually ran out of healing items. It's the second time it happened to me in this whole playthrough, but it's still a piece of cake compared to what's to come. Ha! I got her at the last second. She screams again, because apparently that's what crazy ex-girlfriends like to do. Everything crumbles around us as we teleport back to the first area. In the third and final phase, she actually killed me. She kicked my ass multiple times. Thankfully, there's a checkpoint here, so you don't have to start the whole fight all over again. But remember how I don't have any healing items? That made this fight significantly harder. There are a few healing items scattered around, but it's hard to pick them up while this bitch is screaming in your face. Her screaming does damage, by the way. She will constantly send her little bugs at you, or she will just jump on you herself. Eventually, you might run out of bullets, so you'll have to get good at memorizing her attack patterns, because you will be fighting her with your pipe. She always delays her third swipe. I was down to my last health point, but after a really close battle, we finally managed to defeat this imposter. What? What do you want? Stop calling my name!
James.
All of the endings are basically the same as their original counterparts. I got the in-water ending. At first I was surprised, but then I realized that, yeah, I probably didn't heal enough during my playthrough. If James doesn't heal himself immediately after getting hit, it shows that he doesn't care about his well-being and ultimately wants to end his life. He realizes that he doesn't want to go on without his wife, that he killed. He decides to drive into Toluca Lake and drown himself. So yeah, kind of depressing. Even though I made a lot of goofy jokes and I've beaten the original game multiple times, I was still left with a heavy feeling after finishing the remake, like I've been through one heck of an emotional journey, because that's literally what happened. At the end we get to hear Akira Yamaoka's amazing new soundtrack. All of the remixed music is awesome, by the way. But what about the other endings? In the Live ending, James is granted one final meeting with Mary. In the original, their conversation happens in most of the endings. In the remake, it only happens in the Live ending, which makes sense. They say their goodbyes and Mary gives James a letter, which is the letter that Laura was supposed to give James. James shows it to her, and I'm assuming it says that Mary wants James to adopt her. At the end, you see them leaving the town, together. So yeah, exactly like in the original, with a couple of different minor scenes. Same with the Maria ending. James decides that he wants to spend his life with a stripper created from his subconscious, which is understandable, but as they're about to leave, she starts coughing, implying that she was stricken with the same illness that Mary had. You didn't learn anything from your adventure, huh, James? You naughty scoundrel. The Rebirth ending is also the same. He attempts to resurrect Mary with some ancient ritual, When did that ever work? Whenever there's a ritual involved, they always come back as deformed zombies or whatever. Believe me, I know. One time, I tried bringing back H.P. Lovecraft, but he started acting weird and called me the N-word. Actually, that's how he normally acts. Whatever. It's safer to just gather the Dragon Balls if you want to revive someone. There is a surprise here for older players like myself. There are 2 brand new endings. The first one is called Bliss. It starts with him watching the tape. Everything is the same until the part where she asks him to take her to Silent Hill again. Instead of coughing and having the tape cut to him murdering her, it shows James. He's there with her, inside of the tape. There's 2 ways to interpret this ending. Either the whole game didn't happen, Mary wasn't sick, and they continued to live happily ever after. James never came to this town, which is hinted by this empty chair. It's shown in the same angle it was in the original, but the more likely explanation is that he wants to believe the events of the game never happened.
Everything's fine.
The tape reminded him of a happier time, right before everything went to hell. So he's like, why don't I just stay in that time period? Yeah, that's a great idea. He then imagines himself transported inside of the TV and living a happy life with Mary. This is what could have been if she wasn't sick. Basically, he ignores everything that happened and builds a fantasy for himself. It's just a big copium. As they say, ignorance is bliss. The sitting still ending is by far the saddest one. The performance is spectacular. It's portrayed similarly as the in water ending, with James sitting in his car, thinking about how he can't live without Mary. Though this time, it's not clear if he's actually going to drown himself. And also, he's not alone. Or at least that's how it feels to him. He's so sad by what he's done, and so caught up in his own guilt, that he remains still, while supposedly imagining Mary sitting right behind him. I don't want to have depression, so let's move on. Luckily, they kept the best endings. The dog ending is back, and is he speaking in Polish? I don't know why I'm so happy about that, but I am.
Pokaż.
Nie. To nie może być prawda.
It starts off a bit more menacingly, but then the funny dog licks James's face and it's revealed that everything that's happened was just a simulation created by this puppy. I like how they stare at each other at the end. It even has that goofy music during the credits, though there's no funny video this time. Now, the UFO ending. I thought we would get a recreation of the original UFO ending and see Harry in this new graphical style. But no, instead it's James, the original one, in all of his glorious PS2 graphics. Except now he's called Space James. I'm guessing this is a continuation of the UFO ending in the original Silent Hill 2, where the original James was kidnapped by the aliens. Now he's friends with them and helps them kidnap the new James, who is a clone by the way. He then helps the alien carry him back to their spaceship and even does the same poses as Harry did. So I guess every now and then a new clone of James is created or something. 20 years from now, when Konami decides to make a remake of the remake, there will be another version of James, and then the James of the previous remake will come and kidnap him. This process will repeat itself many times, until eventually we'll have an army of Jameses fighting for the aliens. Now that's a game I want to play. There's a theory that everything that's happened throughout this whole remake is actually just another cycle. Meaning this remake is kind of a sequel to the original. Maybe James is stuck in a never-ending loop, and this is the second or third or whatever time that he went back to this cursed town. He's just doomed to repeat the game over and over again. If this is true, then it probably follows the original Maria ending. They get out of Silent Hill, she eventually dies from the same disease that Mary had, or James just kills her like he did with Mary. After that, he gets amnesia and goes back to the town to search for his wife. Again. But every time he comes back, stuff changes. That can explain the echoes of the past. They're most likely just a fun Easter egg placed by the developers, a simple nod to the original. But if we want to be turbo nerds and come up with theories, like true Silent Hill fans, then we can say that these things are actually here because they were left here from the previous cycles. James solved these puzzles in the original, so there are new puzzles now. The fence in the hospital is broken because of what happened in the first cycle, and nobody fixed it until Silent Hill 3, so now Pyramid Head shows up in a different way. The original coin puzzle is broken, likely because a lot of time has passed, so now James has to solve a different coin puzzle. There are characters saying that this place is different from what they remember, and there's tons of other examples. The way I see it, the biggest indication for this theory is that Fairy Tale Maria tells James. The events of Silent Hill 2 happened a bunch of times, and eventually people began to tell stories about it. I don't know what people and how they know what happened, but they tell stories. Local stories that pass on from generation to generation tend to get lost in translation. Hey, that rhymed. Some details are different, which is why it's not a one-to-one retelling of Silent Hill 2's plot, but the gist of it is the same. A man kept trying to reach his wife over and over again, just like James each time he repeats the cycle. At least that's how I understand it, otherwise I don't know what's the point of that story. If you really want, you can even say that this theory already made sense in the original. You do find a lot of bodies that look like James. Maybe it's there to show you that James already did this multiple times, and these are just his failed attempts. There was also this part. Eddie says that James is gonna die here, just like before.
You die here, James. You'll squirm and squeal and cry like a little girl. And then you'll just curl up and die. And it's gonna feel great! Just like before.
Does he mean that James already been here and then died? Which means we're following up from the in water ending? But how does Eddie know about it? Has he played the original game?
How do you know about that, Eddie?
There's also the part where Maria hesitates before going down the stairs in the hospital. Like she knows that that's where Pyramid Head killed her in the original. There's a lot of hints and little details like that scattered throughout the game. Weirdly enough, the ending that supports this theory the most is the UFO ending. The original James meets the new James, which suggests that there are at least 2 timelines. So eventually there will be another James, and another one, and another one, and all of the games are happening one after another. I keep telling you that it's the canon ending, you just don't wanna listen to me. Regardless if this theory is accurate or not, it doesn't really matter. But it's fun to think about it. Maybe we're all stuck in a time loop. Maybe we've already lived our lives, and this is just another cycle. Think about it before you go to sleep today. Pretty much everyone had their doubts and were shitting on this game, especially when the first trailer dropped back in 2022. I feel like I was one of the few people who believed the remake would be good, but even I was blown away by exactly how good it was. And I'm saying that as a big fan of the original. Bloober Team really did an excellent job and showed everyone that they really know what they're doing. The performance and voice acting is generally pretty good. But for anyone who played the original, it might sometimes leave quite a lot to be desired. At times, it might feel a bit hollow, but overall, except for a few parts, it's great, and the added dialogue fleshes out the characters even more. There was clearly a lot of love poured into it. Having said all of that, I still prefer the original. It's a timeless classic, and it can make anyone cry like a little bitch. The characters and their line deliveries are so special that you can't really replicate it. As much as the remake did a good job, I don't think it got close to the heights of the original. There's so much subtlety in the characters' performances, but this is a solid remake, which surpassed everyone's expectations. Remaking a beloved video game while staying true to the source material is always going to be a tough challenge. But remaking Silent Hill 2, a game with so much nuance and a story so good that if you change one small detail, you might ruin the whole experience, I thought it couldn't be done. And yet they did it.
Yeah.
If you're a newcomer to this game, you're gonna have a blast. If you've played the original and you're not too picky, you might have a bigger blast, since the game will do a great job at subverting your expectations. This game, the original, and this whole franchise means a lot to me. I'm sure you figured that out by the unhealthy, insane amount of hours I've put into these videos. I'm glad I got to talk about it. And hey, if even one person enjoyed what I do here, that just makes it even better. I wanted to say something funny, but I'm too tired to think of anything.
Enough with the sentimental stuff. Are you gonna talk about the other games in the franchise?
Probably. Not right now, but probably. Are you gonna go back to normal now? I mean, I don't care. I like Doom Eternal even more than Doom 2016.
I don't know. Existence is futile.
Okay, you just think about it. I'm gonna go do a YouTuber outro now. Hey, you've made it up until now. How do you feel? Do you feel good? Were you eating while watching this video or taking a shit? Maybe both? No, don't do that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Again, I'm really glad I got to talk about this franchise. Not the whole franchise, yet, but the good games. Meaning it's all downhill from here. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Share the video with your friends who have nothing better to do in their lives. Have a great day. See you in the next video.
Anyway!
You snotty little brat!
What are you talking about?